Horsenden Hill. Welcome to another 30 Days Wild broadcast. And what we're doing, flies are about. And yeah, just generally, we'll go through the meadows. I'll try and point things out as we see them. This is probably one of the most flower rich of the meadows here. Nice variety of different flowers in it. You hear a lot of noise from orthoptera, grasshoppers and crickets chirping away. If any of them sit somewhere where we can have a look at them, we'll do that. But we'll just wander through, see what there's one of the skipper butterflies flying, and not particularly helpfully, not landing any particularly helpful way. See, there's one landed. Okay, so nope, flown off again. Oh well, here's a marbled white instead, flying through the vegetation. Let's approach this. And a meadow brown it interacted with there. Nothing seems to be wanting to settle just at the moment. But we'll continue on. I'll see if anything settles down and let's us have a proper look at it in a moment. Now there's a meadow brown. Flying through the vegetation. It's nice and sunny, so of course everything's very active. Here's another. That's a meadow brown. Again, not really wanting to settle down today. Let's have a look at them. Oh, here's a skipper. And this is in fact an Essex skipper. Come on, focus on the butterfly, not the vegetation behind the butterfly. It's moderately close to in focus. Well, that was an Essex skipper. You could see it had black tips to the antenna, which is how you tell it apart from the small skipper, which is otherwise similar. And we will see what else we see as we go around. Continue up the edge of the meadow here. It's only the second Essex skipper I've seen this year. They're just starting to emerge, just starting to come out for the season this year. So not particularly surprising, I've not seen many yet. Here's a marbled white perched up. Let's see if we can get up to that without it going away. I'll zoom in digitally so I don't go too close. That's rather an attractive insect. the marbled white. It's one of the brown butterflies, not one of the white butterflies, despite the name. And it's a species that's colonised here in the past 15 years or so. When I first started visiting this site, when I moved down to London, this butterfly didn't occur here. But now we see it's one of the commonest ones. You can see a couple possibly flying over the vegetation there. And lots of the meadow browns, which are another brown butterfly a bit closer. Let me see if anything is going to behave. So here's a meadow brown perched up. Again, we'll zoom in a bit digitally to avoid spooking it. If my shadow goes across it, it'll probably fly. Again, pretty common butterfly. But all rather attractive. The other thing I'm going to be doing a little bit, although this probably won't show up in here, is scanning the canopy layer up here for a butterfly called the purple hair streak, which is an oak-associated butterfly. And the butterflies flit around way up there at the top of the canopy. Tend to emerge later in the day, so it's a good time to get them. There have been a few out, so I will keep scanning. They're not likely to be very live broadcast friendly, if there are any, but if we do see any, I will try and call them out. Magpie was down in the grass there. Bird just flew away as I walked past. He's probably down feeding on something. More marbled whites. Worth going and having a look at marbled white. They're always attractive, of course. And this one, possibly not wanting to be approached too closely. Maybe camera shy. Sun's gone in, which might mean that things are a little bit more stationary if we find them. Here's another. The first thing I saw after I said that did fly off quite actively. So as I'm going Horsenden Hill, it's here in northwest London in the London Borough of Ealing, and it's managed by the London Borough of Ealing for a combination of public access and nature. So not to my knowledge formally designated as a nature reserve, as some of the sites are, but it's probably one of the better sites in Ealing for wildlife. And the meadows here are managed by cutting and removing the arisings from that cutting once a year. And what that does is it takes some of the nutrients out with the grass and allows flowers and things that require lower levels of nutrient soil to do quite well. For, essentially London, part of the city, part of a major urban area. This is quite a pleasant sight, and it's one I've been monitoring for wildlife in various ways for quite a while now, since about 2001 really, when I moved down to London. So it's got some good continuity data from myself and from others who also look after the place. And we will cut further along here. It does have a fair amount of footfall from people because, as you can see, there's all around the side of the site there are urban areas, places where people live, and people want to come somewhere nice for a walk, which you can't really blame them. But that does create an interesting dynamic. So certainly some of the more disturbance sensitive wildlife simply wouldn't be present here because there are too many people. But that said, it is still a very interesting site and has some very interesting stuff. It has a large population of a butterfly called the white letter hairstreak, which, like the purple hairstreak we were talking about before, spends most of its time up there in the canopy. White letter hairstreak is associated particularly with elms, so again we'll be flitting around high up around particularly the elm trees, but it will go on to other trees where it takes the honeydew produced by aphids as a fuel source and drinks that. And later in the year, in July, I'll be leading a walk around here to show people that butterfly as well as other things on the site. Part of an annual event I've been doing for a few years and that a friend of mine did before he moved away from the area. So we do try to share what we've got with people in various ways. Obviously these broadcasts are another of those ways. Just keeping an eye out as we walk through. Another meadow brown butterfly sitting over the vegetation. Might be able to make this out amongst all the movement. Anyway. Magpie wandering down the path ahead of us. Flying away. We'll cut through here, we'll go to one more meadow, we'll walk through there. See if anything else shows up there. Quite a breezy day today. Not a very strong wind, but certainly enough wind that when things are flying, if they get a bit of wind up them, they'll move fast. more meadow here. That's what you see up ahead. Yeah, with quite a nice variety of flowers and plants in it. Well, these are pretty common plants, but nevertheless they're good sources of nectar at this time of year and of food plants for various insects in their larval stage at other times of the year. And lots of really much smaller insects. This is a really small, I think, some sort of Heteropteran bug, I believe. Not going to attempt to identify that. But you can see that plants are, do have plenty of insects associated with them. Let's continue. There's another marbled white just flew past. And another marbled white in here. You see it flying over the vegetation a bit. Lost track of it. So it's interesting having monitored this site for the length of time I have to have seen species arrive. Marbled white is one of them. Another one is the ringlet, another butterfly in the Browns family. There's a wood pigeon just flying ahead of us. The ringlet butterfly, which again didn't used to be here, certainly wasn't known to be here. It was first seen perhaps 15 years ago or so in one little patch of the site and is now very common. What's going on here? There's the remains of a moth. It's been got by something. Doesn't seem to have any scales or identification features left, so I'm not going to attempt to say what that is. Probably one of the... I'm not sure I'd even like to say which family it was actually. I wonder if it was just a very worn green oak tortrix that had lost all its coloration. Well dead though. There's an orange soldier beetle here on this ragwort. And a fly of some kind. Again, that's the plants. Things are really good nectar source. It's gathering on them. A couple more magpies. Pretty common bird. Two of them there. They'll fly off as we walk a bit closer down the path, as we saw. So, reaching the end where I'm going to leave the site and finish back home. I'm just going to cross the road just by this oak tree here. You can see rather a nice large oak. And again, this will have a lot of wildlife and insects particularly associated with it. But we'll stop here just looking out back across the meadows where we've come, and end the broadcast on here. With another chance to just have a quick look across, and I will end the broadcast here and see people tomorrow for another 30 Days Wild broadcast.